We also have sports, showbiz and international news all coming up. In our very first story, about 20 survivors of last year's Melcombe disaster at Achimota Thursday morning converged at the scene of the tragedy for a memorial. The event was a chilling reminder how lucky they were to have survived, unlike their 14 colleagues who perished. Osei, who joined them for the memorial, reports many are yet to get over the tragedy.
At exactly 9:40. The staff had reported for work like any normal day and were having their morning devotion when the multi-story building began to crumble upon them. And they all had similar tales.
That day, we were having morning devotion inside the building, and I was standing in front of the door, hanging banner in front of the door because that was Wednesday, we were having promotion. So the banner for the promotion, I was hanging it. What I saw, the pillar in front of the door hit me on the compound. The time I realized I was on the compound. So I was the first person to call the management and tell them that the building has collapsed because I was the first person outside. That's what I saw. Because when the incident happened, you can't see anything. It's like darkness. If you are going, you are just moving. You don't know where you are heading to.
That day, I just came late, so we went in exactly 5 minutes when the thing happened. It happened like a rapture. That was what I was thinking in my mind, that God has come. So I just forget about everything that, it's God, after all, it's God. So just feel reluctant and all that. But within 10 to 20 minutes, I just realized that still I'm alive, but I can't do anything. I can't wake up. Just said, suddenly we had machine excavator and all that. So I spent 6 hours.
You spent 6 hours under
it before I was rescued.
What was going through your mind that 6 hours? What was going through your mind?
My eyes were open, but I can't even think about anything. But what I was thinking is that I'm about to die.
Others were clueless about what was happening.
In the building.
What were you doing in the building that day?
That day I collapsed. Exactly the incident happened, I collapsed.
Mm-hmm. You collapsed?
Yes.
So you didn't see anything happening on that day?
No.
Be a bra Misha yet sound near force near corner. Miranda who want to be Susan, so give us a comfort. Now be minute and a so. Only say Minamaka make a sigh by a friend better aggressive. Say he gave me not Ninayacha, Nimuati, and Ajunimuati. No, I procry. It was the last girl, yet to me in the free.
I go on 9 and saying I lock it. I'm on also lock it, other guy back home. Echirema get back on so oye juma honum like oto form na we no bim ne be born so santo ono de no wawu na guy back on so e de ni free so be e de ne be shame sa ono so no wawu.
Whilst trapped under the rubble, a crowd quickly gathered outside, many of them onlookers, quite a number also willing to help and others yet simply wailing. Personnel from the National Disaster Management Organization and allied agencies, who were later joined by international rescue teams, rummaged through the rubble for days to recover bodies and rescue these lucky ones. A year on, the grief that engulfed the scene of the tragedy was revisited, though a lot more subdued. they laid a wreath to commemorate the day. But the after effects still lives with them.
It has affected me in so many ways because most of my friends as I now think I'm dead. Those who have not seen me, they still feel Jennifer is dead or something.
September to October, I've been in coma for 4 times. If not this thing happens to me, Isaac, I'm not ill. I don't just get ill just like that. But because of this incident, illness has taken place in me. That's what I can say.
Okay, so are you saying that your life has not been the same at all?
No. I tell you, life has not been the same for me.
What do you do now?
No, because of the sickness taking part in me, I'm in the house, I'm not doing anything. But just by the grace of God, today I'm fine. Yeah, by the grace of God, from November coming, I'm fine.
A pillar fall on one side of me, so I have a fracture with my hand, my knee, and my toe.
Oh my God. So, how do you feel right now?
I'm not that fit, but the doctor said we will not be 100% fit, so we should go home. So I'm just, sometimes I feel the pain, sometimes too. So.
Oh my God.
This certainly brings up the issue of our building code and how we enforce it. And definitely there is a lot of negligence in terms of how we build, especially high-rise buildings. And so we're going to have to put in place a mechanism to check the safety and security of other high-rise buildings and find out if there aren't any more of such disasters waiting to happen. As you know, Ghana is an earthquake-prone zone, and so if this building just collapsed like that, if we get a tremor that is above a certain magnitude, how many more buildings won't come down? That is a question that we need to look at and face. But we set up a task force to deal with this current emergency, and our focus now is on rescuing people and getting people out alive. I think that the other medium to long-term measures we shall take, but whoever are responsible for this negligence will have to pay a price for what they have caused.
This morning, I am ordering the arrest of Mr. Abebio. Please step out. I am ordering the arrest of Mr. Abebio immediately for further investigation and for the necessary prosecution. So, police officer, please arrest Mr. Abebio immediately. I am ordering the arrest of Mr. Abebio this morning because Mr. Abebio works for AMA as a building inspector. Mr. Abebio is not an agent of AMA or anybody to collect money. Mr. Abebio has collected from this developer an amount of 3,550 Ghana cedis.
The Accra Mayor, a year after, says they concluded investigations about a month ago and that the docket on the owner of the building is currently with the Attorney General.
Well, after the Malcolm collapse, the owner of the building, number one, I closed down all the other building properties that is owned by the developer. That's owner of the building. And up to today, we have not opened those buildings because I said that those buildings had no permit. And the owner said they had permit. So we closed down those structures. Number two, we arrested the owner of the building. He was put to court and he was granted bail. Since being granted bail, investigations have been going on to ensure that he will be brought to book fully in terms of prosecution. I've been following it up. The police, CID, have just informed me about a month ago. They have finished their investigations. They have all the information. They have moved the case now to the Attorney General's department. And we are waiting Attorney General's department to prepare their files, their docket, to put it before trial.
And life goes on.
Meanwhile, management and staff of Melcom also held a minute's silence at their flagship Melcom Plus at the industrial area here in Accra. Adley Dartha was there for Joy News.
At exactly 9:45 a.m., staff of Melcom held a 1-minute silence to honor the victims of last year's disaster. And I'm here with one of the survivors, and she will be talking to us about how she has been coping for the past 1 year. Hello, madam. How have you been coping for this past year?
Oh, I've been all right. With the support of my family, my colleagues, the staff at work, I'm all right. I'm all right.
It was a terrible sight. I was there myself and I saw all the struggles, the attempts to pull out survivors from the rubble. What was your experience? Can you briefly recount what happened that day?
It was a terrible experience. As you said, at exactly 9:45, we were having a morning devotion, and all we saw was the building collapse. That was all. So we waited for hours for the rescue team to come and rescue us. Only God knows what really happened that day. So you cannot blame anybody for what happened. It's part of life, so we need to accept it and move on in life.
Communications Director of Melcom, Godwin Avenobu, says it's been a difficult year for the company as well as survivors of the tragedy.
It's a difficult moment because there was so much to do. The injured, their compensation, their medical treatment, and so on and so forth. Even the dead, going through the paperwork and getting the medical authorities to relate with the Labour Department and the cause and so on to find genuine survivors and next of kin for these payments to be done. And the company has to issue checks to settle all that through the Labour Commission.
Some of the survivors who have complained about battling post-traumatic stress disorder over the harrowing experience say the 1,000 Ghana cedis compensation is woefully inadequate. But the company says it has not closed its doors to the survivors.
Somebody must have had something drop and then suddenly the building collapsed. So anything that drops reminds the person, oh, is it going to happen again? Yes, they have received help. But that help is not going to be a one-stop event. If anybody still has that problem, the person should just come forward and Melcom is willing to support them. Today I announced another package for working staff of Melcom. 10 scholarships, primary, basic, class 1 to university level. That's not all. We are going to continue. We began with the children of the victims of the disaster.
He added, all 26 Melcom shopping centers across the country are undergoing safety checks to prevent a recurrence of the disaster. The survivors, however, say they are disappointed about the authorities' handling of the case of those who may have been responsible, and especially at the feeling that their colleagues may have died in vain.
We have more news coming up after the break. Former President Kufuor has called on the youth to stand for the truth and demand accountability from their leaders. He was addressing the Young Adult Fellowship of the Nantoma Memorial Congregation of the Presbyterian Church, Kanda, who called on him at his residence.
And you know the society in which you live, and you want to extend whatever talents nature has imbued or bestowed in you to your society, you would also know where to draw the line. In being of service, where you have to stand up for truth and for right, you have to do it as a citizen. Think of the society generally. Think of your role as citizens. Politics is critical because it's through that we see leadership at work. We see accountability. You have to be bold to demand accountability of anybody you put in position. It's through that, it's through interactions between the leader and the followers that the good comes out within the society.
The former president is also calling for the inclusion of ethics in the curriculum of teacher trainees. According to him, the initiative will adequately prepare teachers to instill in students proper moral ethics. He says it's lost on most youth of today.
Speaking to the Young Adult Fellowship of the Nantoma Memorial Congregation of the Presbyterian Church, Kanda, when they paid a courtesy call on him at his residence, the former president expressed worry at the high level of moral indiscipline, a situation he says requires urgent attention. For him, teachers have a crucial role to play in nurturing the youth.
The routine subjects, maths, English, but also ethics, or if you like, moral education. It should be a balance. That's where the fellow feeling would come in. That's where sense of social responsibility is deepened. There should be a deliberate attempt to ingrain ethical education in teachers so they can impart the disciplines needed for nation building.
He said the teaching profession must be given a lot of attention by policymakers in terms of remuneration and enhancement to their conditions of service.
I believe our teachers should be given perhaps the most central attention by policy. Let's train teachers well. Let us give them job rights. Let us, by remuneration, by social respect, and then prospects of also growing even in the profession. All these things should be made available to the teacher, plus improved service conditions, so the teacher would love the job.
The Youth Fellowship presented him with a citation in appreciation of his service to the country.
A retired professor of economics and senior fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Professor George Aite, has blamed Ghana's economic woes on the failure of the Attorney General's Department and Parliament especially to serve as a check. Addressing the press in Accra, he insisted that Ghana can only develop if institutions are strengthened and are held accountable.
Despite the impressive growth rates recorded over the years, the Ghanaian economy continues to struggle with debt levels of about 49.3% and budget deficits ranging above 12% of GDP. The country also recently had its credit rating downgraded by international credit rating agency Fitch and got ranked in a Gallup survey as the third most corrupt amongst countries with a free press. A ranking government has protested. But Professor George Aite believes the negatives are as a result of extreme corruption he says are crippling institutions.
Some of our problems are not related to the leader, but are related to our bad institutions or systems in the car. Parliament must work for Parliament to act as a watchdog over the public purse. The judiciary system must work in order to enforce the rule of law so that the corrupt don't walk away with impunity. You have to have a neutral and efficient security forces to make sure that the police are doing their job. They are not just taking bribes. We have professors, we have scholars, we have universities. Where are the lecturers? Where are the scholars? Why aren't the scholars championing? Why aren't the professors telling us that, look, the fan belt is broken. That's why the engine is overheating.
Highlighting the high wage bill, which takes about 70% of national revenue, the retired economic professor says the economy will crumble if government continues to borrow to pay public workers.
There is nothing wrong with borrowing, but there's one cardinal principle. When you borrow money, you use the money productively to generate a return. If you borrow money and you use the money to pay civil service salaries, for example, you're not using the money productively to generate a return. So you're going to be in trouble. Now, there's nothing wrong with borrowing money, okay, to put up a hospital, for example, or to lay down a road, for example, or a toll road, because the toll road will generate revenue, the hospital will generate revenue. Enable you to pay back the loan.
He also added that the constitution was effective and needed a review to include particularly the element of separation of powers to avoid a rubber stamp parliament.
The Member of Parliament for Nsuwa has called for a national institution to craft and administer a policy for the aged to help reduce their suffering. It says such an institution should be supported by a fund to improve their welfare.
The MP, Frank Anodompre, was concerned about the treatment meted out to the aged who have served the nation faithfully.
I call for Parliament to help establish a fund which will be solely for the administration of the institution, as well as the implementation of this comprehensive policy, being called for the aged. These funds would help undertake activities, including education and media awareness programs, research activities, support programs, and welfare issues for the aged.
He also called for the establishment of nursing homes.
As done in many developed countries and jurisdictions, we need a policy for creating nursing homes, both private and public, which can take care of the needs of our elders, especially those who cannot live in their communities with the right mix of affordable, or those who cannot interact with their families for various reasons. This will improve care coordination, grow the needed direct care for the aged in various nursing homes, and provide employment for many people as it has in many developed countries.
The MP for Wejagbawe, Rosemond Comfort Abra, also raised concerns on the increasing number of JHS students who fail to progress to SHS. The Member of Parliament for Manso Edubia, Yao Frimpong Ado, attributed this to the withdrawal of the allowances which was given to teachers in the rural areas.
Because of the allowances, they were prepared to stay in the rural areas to teach. With the withdrawal of the allowances, this situation that we find ourselves now is going to be worse. The teacher first. In everything that we do, the policy should be teacher first. We should take good care of the teacher wherever he is, and the person will give up his best, and the students will be the beneficiaries.
Sitting continues tomorrow.
Staying in Parliament, MPs have been urged to make maternal and newborn survival a national priority to ensure the MDG 4 and 5 are attained. The call came from a civil society organization, Evidence for Action, which has embarked on a project dubbed Mamaye to help in the attainment of the two goals.
1 out of 70 Ghanaians aged between 18 and 49 die from pregnancy or childbirth-related causes. Every month, 225 people are also lost through pregnancy complications, which mostly lead to severe bleeding, according to the Ministry of Health statistics. The country's budgetary allocations to health have meanwhile reduced from 15% in 2007 to just about 12.5% in 2013. The per capita spending on health is $27 per Ghanaian per year, well below the WHO recommended $54 per person. The country director of Evidence for Action, Professor Richard Adanu, urged members to champion the cause to ensure the health of their constituents are assured. Member of Parliament for Takwa Nsuaim, Gifty Eugenia Kusi, said members are working to improve on the situation.
The whole budget is presented to us, and then we sit down and then we look at it and we say that how many percent is going here, how many percent, and for health it's still 12.5. It rose to 15%, but now it's 12.5. We are lobbying that it goes back to 15%. If there's more money in the system, money will be made available. And I just remember that just this, I think last 2 months, we went for a meeting where the Minister of Health was saying that the funded donors were saying that money was sitting in the coffers of Ministry of Health which have not been used. And I think that is something serious, and Parliament has taken it up and we are discussing with them.
The MPs have signed a pledge to help in the education and creation of policies and actions in the attainment of the MDG 4 and 5.
Now, news that Adenta and its environs will eventually overcome the perennial acute shortage of water by December 2014 should ideally excite residents. This is, however, not the case. Some residents Joy News has been speaking to are equally not amused about comments from the MP that prepaid meters will be installed on their lines once water begins to flow. Marian Ture has the rest of the story.
In virtually every household in the suburb, one could spot a tank used to hold water for the residents' use. For many of them, the acute water shortage has been a decade-old problem.
It's been going on for a while now. Since I've been living here, about 20 years, no water. They promised us, when was it, a couple of years back, that the water will be flowing, the same thing. So as this 2014, whether it will happen, so I honestly don't know.
Water situation in Adenta is very bad. Since time memorial, 1911, there's no water in Ghana here, Adenta here. So we don't know the government that will come and remedies us and give us some remedy in terms of water situation at Dente here.
The lack of water also impacts on businesses in the community. Interestingly, the car washing bay finds a way to survive.
The tankers na dumawaha. First, nanka 70 cedis a tank, but what also by 80 cedis, 100 cedis. Yakoketian say, yeah, to full tank na the 100 cars and 110 cars. Until 2 days and 3 weeks in my boss no can say tariff increase in say so the beer 111 CD to be also.
For the residents, the promise that water would flow more regularly from December next year is one they've heard many times before. For them, getting water running through their taps mattered more than prepaid meters. The MP, Emmanuel Ashimo, says will be installed.
Prepaid for water, that's too bad. I don't believe prepaid for water will be okay. Because just look at what is happening just recently at ECG. They said prepaid. They brought some prepaid and it's catching fire. And so does it mean that if we should go for prepaid for water, implies there is no way we can get water. We are still in the old situation.
Prepaid water, let the water come. Then from there we decide whether it is be prepaid or not, because I honestly don't think anything is going to materialize after that promise.
Municipal Chief Executive of Adentan, Kakra Van Les, shares the sentiment of her constituents.
If that is feasible, why not? If the Ghana Water Company can come up with such a program, it's laudable. But I will say that at least let's take it step by step. The most important is to get the water running through the taps in Adenta. Then after that, then if they prepaid, as he suggests, is feasible, why not? We'll also take a look at it.
The implications of lack of water is widespread, but with the Kpong Water Project promised to be completed by 2014, let's hope their water problems will soon be behind them. For Joy News, Marian Toure reporting.
Now, stakeholders in the mining sector have called for a change in the law governing natural resource revenue in the country. They argue mining communities have been deprived of development largely because a chunk of the mineral revenue goes into the consolidated fund rather than the communities.
Despite the mining sector's contribution to the economy, communities endowed with natural resources still wallow in poverty, grappling with poor infrastructure and bad roads, among others. At a forum organized by the Ghana Chamber of Mines on resource nationalism, stakeholders said the communities could not be developed with the amounts of revenue that eventually goes to them. With the remaining 20%, 9% goes to the district assemblies in these mining areas, with 45 of the 9% going to the traditional leaders. They say a review in the mining revenue law is long overdue.
If you go to South Africa, for instance, Rosenberg, Johannesburg was built on gold because the government took the taxes and built the city. But it's the opposite here. The government takes the taxes, the royalties, and that's it. Nothing comes back again. So I believe this is the time, this is the right time that all stakeholders have to put our heads together and change the law.
Until we change the law, all the talking will be for nothing. Because the law says the money should go into the consolidated fund. Period. It will go there and nobody will see what happens to it. So that's the fundamental point. Change the law regarding mining revenues in this country and we can change the country.
Chief Executive of Goldfields Company Limited, Nick Holland, also called on the mining companies and government to collaborate and improve the lives of people in the communities.
We need to embrace the concept of shared value, that industries need to integrate their operations with the communities around the mines, try and procure locally, try and train people locally for the business, try and provide jobs locally, and at the same time it will help to reduce the cost inputs into the business. This is a win-win relationship. Governments have a responsibility to make sure that resources are developed. If mining companies don't wish to develop those resources, make them available for others who want to. It's the duty of the government and it's the duty of mining companies to either develop those deposits or move on and let somebody else do it.
He also noted mining companies should relook at how they report on their transfer and cash flows to win the confidence and trust of government. Stakeholders are, however, hopeful government will soon pass the Minerals Development Fund law, which will improve the amount of resource revenue returned to the mining communities.
Well, still on the mining industry may not cut loose as many workers as was feared. According to the chief executive of the Chamber of Mines, companies in the industry are still observing trends in the price of the precious metal to see if they could save some of the estimated 2,000 to 4,000 jobs that are at risk. Dr. Tony Obin was speaking to Joy Business on the sidelines of an industry forum in Accra.
The job cuts have been prompted by a sharp decline in the price of gold from about $1,600 an ounce in the past year to $1,300. The price fall has come at a time when production costs have been in the rise along with taxes. Dr. Obin explains the job cuts are part of a wider restructuring taking place in the industry.
Well, this is a long-term view of the industry. So it's not a matter of targeting labor. We are not doing labor redundancy generally. It is just a general restructuring. People are deciding that we are not going to mine here anymore. We are not going to explore anymore. And therefore, once that happens, it's not about the staff. It's about not going to explore in a particular area.
He adds that it is very possible that the companies may resort to options other than slashing jobs.
Some are being careful. Some are saying that, look, even though we can lay off people, we want to do it, we want to see what happens in 6 months' time, and all that. So the plans are there, the big plans are there. They are doing that very carefully, so it has a very minimal impact on people. But we are conscious about the effect of unemployment.
Now to some agric stories. The Ministry of Agriculture, together with research partners, are set to embark on a study to compare the performance of farms to determine the productivity and profitability of the farming systems used. The 3-year project will clearly define merits and demerits for both organic and inorganic farming systems in order to generate a national policy to guide them.
A number of farmers are currently going by the conventional system involving the use of chemicals, hybrid seeds, synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. This system is arguably cheaper and yields quick results as compared to the organic approach, which involves the use of natural inputs like poultry manure, compost, leguminous crops, among others. The Ministry of Agriculture, the University of Ghana and the Agroeco Louise Bork Institute are therefore embarking on a research project to scientifically prove which of the two is better.
If you want to promote organic agriculture, good. But at the end of the day, the farmer is a businessman. Will productivity improve? Productivity improving means that your yield should improve, because that is the end result you are seeking. You want more money from what you are doing. If you are a small-scale farmer, you want to increase your farm income and reduce your poverty. It's a wealth creation issue. And we have been given the funding to do this research for the next 3.5 years to establish this understanding.
For the research coordinators, the project will guide government to put together an appropriate national policy on farming.
Many countries we have organic farmers being more profitable than their their conventional counterparts, and this is on the one side because they use less inputs, but it's also on the other side that we have in Europe policy support for organic farming, because organic farmers produce ecosystem services like they maintain the soil, they maintain biodiversity, and this also has an economic value which is not normally taken into account.
The Pro-Eco Organic Africa project is to be implemented in Ghana and Kenya for Africa and will be financed by the Swiss Development Corporation and the Dutch Humanistic Development Corporation.
The European Central Bank, ECB, has cut its benchmark interest rate to a record low of 0.25%, down from 0.5%. The move came as a surprise to many analysts. ECB President Mario Draghi said the decision to cut rates reflected an outlook of low inflation and economic weakness in the Eurozone. Inflation in the Eurozone fell to 0.7% in October, its lowest level since January 2010, stoking concerns of deflation in some countries. Prices in Greece, one of the Eurozone members worst hit by the economic crisis, have not risen since July. Some economists are also worried about deflation in Spain. The ECB's target is to keep inflation just below 2%, seen as a healthy level for economic growth. Many thanks for your time. I'm Abigail Adomakunji. Sports is up next.
Let's catch up with news making rounds in the world of sports. And the Black Stars have signed a 3-year sponsorship deal with Unibank, which will see them receive $1.2 million over the period. This new agreement will give Unibank the exclusive rights of official bank of the Black Stars. The Black Stars have signed a 3-year sponsorship with Ghanaian-owned private bank Unibank. Unibank will offer the Black Stars $1.2 million over the period for partnering with their brand. This new agreement will give Unibank the exclusive rights as official bank of the senior national men's team, branding their products with the Black Stars to their customers and the team's followers, and offer special packages to members of the team. Unibank say they are partnering the Black Stars to showcase to the world that Ghanaian businesses can successfully support the Black Stars to climb higher and higher. Founded in 1997, Unibank's aim is to be the leading and preferred bank, offering comprehensive financial solutions to chosen customers in a professional, caring, responsive and profitable way. While the second edition of the National Women's League has been postponed to November 23, the 12-club league was originally fixed to kick off on November 9th, but the National Women's League Board explained the move is to ensure clubs are at full strength when the campaign gets underway. Second edition of the National Women's League has been postponed to November 23rd. The 12-club league was originally fixed to kick off on November 9th, 7 clear days after coach Avanza Dote's Black Queens recorded a 2-0 win over Equatorial Guinea in the Costa Rica 2014 Under-17 Women's World Cup qualifier at the Crossport Stadium. The Women League Board explained the Black Maidens technical team would need to camp the ladies for the reverse encounter in Malabo on November 16th before releasing them into their clubs for the start of the National Women's League. Hazakia's ladies won the maiden edition of the National Women's League last season after beating Fabulous Ladies in the final at the Crossport Stadium in April this year. And now, football pitch experts Green Grass Technology has promised to improve the deplorable state of the Crossport Stadium pitch. In 14 days, the turf in the capital has gone from green to brown and looks very crusty. This is the worst ever state of the turf since it was laid in 2008 for the African Cup of Nations. Managing Director of Green Grass Technology, Frank Boaheni, tells Joy Sports the situation is under control.
As for me, as a groundsman, professional groundsman, I've seen situations like this before. I think in Europe we have water hose bands, and so the pitches tend to go like this. You know, the pitch turns brown very quickly, and so in the next, I said within 14 days. 14 days. When we overseed and we fertilized and we have water for a few days, I think everybody will come to the stadium and testify and be happy. Green Grass Technology did not build the pitch, or we did not even plant the grass. So we want to make that clear. You know, we are dealing with extreme heat, especially in Accra. The equator runs through Accra. So the grass naturally have to be resilient. You can't cut it to the level of European grasses, to the low tolerances that we are used to seeing in the Premier League. Here, the grass naturally wants to grow tall because of the heat. Also, you know, when we are looking at the Premier Division clubs in Europe, those pitches are played on maybe once a fortnight. In the early stages of the Champions League and things, you see it's been used quite a lot. But here we have it in Ghana. Our Crossport Stadium is the major sports venue that we have. If you look at it, prior we had the Black Stars training here. After they went, we had the under-20s girls here. And after they are left, we have had under-17s here. And in between all that, we are still playing the league. And so there's a certain degree of strain on the pitch.
We continue our build-up to Season 7 of the Joy Sports Invitational Tournament scheduled for 23rd November at the OAK Sports Stadium. And we turn our attention to the camp of Accra Breweries Limited to find out what they have up their sleeves for the event.
I'm going to sit them down, give them every tutorial that needs to go into the game. So this year, as my team captain said, we are bringing we are defending our trophy, and then alongside we are bringing another trophy to here, the ultimate. So this time around, we are defending and then bringing another trophy on board.
It's a talented something that God has given it to us.
Talented.
It's talented something. So it's not something that we do practice or something, but when we are gathered together, we can every hour, every time that you call us, we can provide.
All right, how about Team Multimedia? I'll be striking and Israel will be defending. Check that out on that day. That'll be over sports tonight. My name is George Adder Jr. Israel joins us with international news. Have a great good evening.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got to go.
The report started spreading like wildfire on Sunday, November 3, 2013 on several social media platforms. A Ghanaian actor, Van Vika, had been involved in a life-threatening accident on his way to church last Sunday, which had claimed his life.
An actor, producer, and director, and I want all those watching this station and this program right now, and all Ghanaians and people around the world, to know that I, Van Vika, I never had an accident. I am not dead. I did not have an accident on Sunday morning going to church. I was actually in Nigeria filming. Here I am, live and colored, still kicking and loving God and doing my job. So to all the imposters, get ready. I might just be at your funeral. I have several times attempted to let everyone know my real Facebook page, my real Kik accounts, Twitter, and what have you. Let me say it again, please. My only Facebook page is J with a small letter, Van Vika. So you've got J Van Vika. That's my page. It has over 500 fans. That's mine. No other imposter has close to even 5,000 or 6,000.
Now, Ghana is having a full house of fashionistas from all over Africa and beyond, gathering at the Accra International Conference Center for this year's fashion extravagant event, the Glitz Africa Fashion Week, which opened today.
The 5-day international event, Glitz Africa Fashion Week, opened today with lots of expectations. Our news team visited the venue earlier today to gauge the atmosphere. Preparations were still ongoing. Speaking with some of the early exhibitors, they have high hopes that the event will come out successfully.
Today is the first day we are setting up. I mean, if you look around, you can see that some designers are still setting up. So things are a bit slow, so we're not expecting much. Probably by evening time, things will start picking up, and then tomorrow we'll have a full-blown fashion week. We expect that Ghanaians are going to patronize made in Ghana products. We expect that a lot of people are going to come through here and see the numerous talents that are being exhibited here today.
Oh, we're really prepared. We're very, very prepared to make this Glitz Fashion Week a very, very beautiful one with our fabrics and with our designs. So trust me, you're going to have a wonderful time passing through.
Meanwhile, in faraway South Africa, there was a 4-day fashion show which came off over the weekend. The event, African Fashion Week, brought together 30 Africa's finest designers, and the organizers described this event as a tool of bringing African fashion to life in the fullest.
And that's all for Showbiz.
Showbiz was brought to you by Airtel.